So I think pangolins are just one of the coolest creatures ever because they don't ask for attention. They don't shout out, look at me. They're not big, iconic species, but they fulfill this incredible little role within the ecosystem. But they're shy. They don't want to be seen. They don't have to be seen. They come on at night. They have these. I think they're a lot more intelligent than people think. They have these beautiful eyes that kind of check you out, almost like an elephant does. They have this deep sense to them. And I think because of that, people are fascinated by them. And then when you get a chance to be in their presence, it's like a gift because, not many people have on this planet ever been around a pangolin. So it's a really, really an amazing experience.
On World Pangolin Day, Hot 1027 is shining the spotlight on these amazing and enigmatic creatures.
Grasslands formed first in Africa. So that means that over the millennia that's formed, you had ants and termites started first in Africa. So a lot of the animals that came to feed on ants, termites, had a lot longer to evolve or to develop and evolve to feed on ants and termites. So that's kind of the basis of where they come from. But to put it, I suppose, in more plain terms, a pangolin is an incredibly adapted mammal that feeds on pretty much exclusively ants, sometimes termites, but it's mainly Africa and Asia. And they have very specialized scutes or scales that when they roll up into a ball, they all fold up into one. And it's a protective armor. Plus, they also walk on their back feet, use their front claws to dig, so bigger, stronger front claws. And also their tongue structure is incredibly unique. Basically, the tongue actually starts down in their belly, close to their belly button. And that muscle is so strong that it pushes the tongue all the way out and all the way back in. So the tongue can almost be the length of the body.
Like any wild animal, pangolins face threats in their natural environment, and they have a very unique way of protecting themselves.
The threats in the wild for pangolins, it's for all its evolution, it's become this incredible little creature that can roll up into a very tight ball. So, it's for being able to achieve that, it's lost a hell of a lot of speed. So it walks on its back legs like a T-Rex. It can walk on all fours, but they don't move fast. So as soon as they're under threat, they roll up into a super tight ball. And things that will, naturally be a threat to them would be hyenas, lions, leopards, even things such as ground hornbills, on small individuals where they can get their beak in between. So they do have natural predators, but they are very well equipped to be able to withstand this. They'll also, obviously, if there's a burrow nearby, they'll go down a burrow. And also they have this ability to get into thick bush and roll up tight, so they become quite immovable, kind of like a rock.
Unfortunately, the threats they face are not only in the wild. Humans are fast-tracking the path to extinction.
It's been widely covered, but I don't think widely enough. They're the most trafficked animal on the planet. And that basically means they're getting poached. So when I say poached, is people are tracking them, finding them in the burrows, taking them, putting them in sacks, and then, exposing them to an horrific ordeal of the wildlife trade. And that generally means going from Africa into the east, because that's where they want. So China, Thailand, Vietnam, a lot of the eastern countries, they're valued for their scales, for their meat, for a number of reasons, for health, for cancer, for elixirs of life, for longevity, vitality, for status. So the main threats is actually local people or people that are hard up and need food. So that's a way for them to get financial remuneration for poaching. So basically catching a pangolin wherever they can, whether it's in a reserve or in more rural land or in pastoral land, and then taking them to a middleman and then basically entering into the wildlife trade, which we've learned is basically like narcos too, It's very well syndicated, and it's almost like the drug cartels.
However, there are ways we can help the pangolins, and the team from Conserve Earth is doing just that.
So I think the Pangan project started with just a couple of conversations of really cool projects that we need to get involved with that don't have enough scope or exposure, and there's really great people doing work on it already. And then how can we facilitate and get involved to make their job easier and do better? And through that investigation and chatting to a lot of people that I've met, over the many years of being in the industry, We ended up on a project and chatting to the Sabi Sand Nature Reserve management team, and they had developed a fence that initially was to help keep lions in, as basically a barrier, but it didn't have an electric setup to it. Unfortunately, we have very strict rules with wildlife reserves. Well, fortunately, is to keep the big animals in, so you have people outside that can also live and graze cattle and have a livelihood. But with that bottom strand that protects the fences from being buried underneath from lions, leopards, wild dogs, whatever the case may be, that's a live wire. And unfortunately, when pangolins come into touch with that, their go-to is to roll up into a ball. And unfortunately, the fence cable often gets, or the fence wire gets caught up underneath them, or in between their legs or in their tail when they roll up. So the shock is consistent. So they will get shocked to death, which is a pretty brutal way to go.
This fence, mainly funded by donations from the public, is being erected to cover the entire reserve, and it's helping other small creatures as well.
So basically, it's a mesh that nothing can get through. But with that, they noticed that nothing was dying on those fences from electrocution. So monitor lizards, pangolins, small antelopes, snakes. So we kind of spoke, and this is where great communication comes in, is we thought, well, geez, that's an incredible project to run with. You guys have a great idea. Why don't we help you carry on with this and help you, scale it up so we can help and finish the whole reserve, so we don't lose any more pangolin individuals to electrocution. And the rehabilitation facilities that are doing such phenomenal work already, they can focus on rehabilitating pangolins that come from the trade, and we can reduce the numbers that come from electrocution. So starting small, and then you scale it up to try and get into other reserves that need it.
In the end, the responsibility lies with us to protect the creatures on our planet.
We're custodians of this planet, and I think we forget that we can't exist without natural spaces, without these creatures that inhabit them. And pangolins are actually helpless creatures that have evolved so well that they actually need protection. Well, they need space, and because they can't help themselves, they're not like a lion which can fight back, or an elephant which is massive. These things actually have no chance unless we help.